So you, as the ancient philosopher mathematician, have concluded that in order for the multiplication of positive and negative numbers to be consistent with everything that you've been constructing so far, all of the other properties of multiplication that you know so far, that you need a negative number times a positive number, or a positive times a negative, to give you a negative number, and a negative times a negative to give you a positive number. And so you accept it, so it's all consistent, but it still does not make complete, concrete sense to you. You want to have a slightly deeper intuition than just having to accept it so that it's consistent with the distributive property and whatever else. And so you try another thought experiment. You say, well, what is just basic multiplication doing? So if I say 2 times 3, one way to conceptualize this basic multiplication here is really repeated addition. So you could view this as 2 3s. So 2 3s would literally be 3 plus 3. And notice there are 2 of them. There are 2 of these. Or you could view this as 3 2s. And so this is the same thing as 2 plus 2 plus 2. And there are 3 of them. And either way you conceptualize them, you get the same exact answer. This is going to be equal to 6. Fair enough. You knew that before you even tried to tackle negative numbers. Now let's try to make one of these negatives and see what happens. Let's do 2 times negative 3. And I'm going to make the negative in a different color. 2 times negative 3. Well, one way you could view this is just the same analogy here. It's negative 3 twice. So it would be negative 3, and I'll try to color code it. Negative 3, and then another negative 3. Or you could say negative 3 minus 3. Or, and now this is the interesting thing, instead of over here, since it said 2 times positive 3, you added 2 3 times. But since here it's 2 times negative 3, you could also imagine that you're going to subtract 2 3 times. So instead of, and up here I could have literally written plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, because this is a positive 3 right over here. All of a sudden, since we're dealing with a negative 3, we could imagine that this is subtracting 2 3 times. So this would be subtracting 2, subtract another 2 right over here, subtract another 2, and then you subtract another 2 right over there. And let me color code it, make sure I don't get the colors messed up. And you have another 2 right over there. And notice, you did it, once again, you did it 3 times. So this was a negative 3. Essentially, you are subtracting 2 3 times. And either way you conceptualize it right over here, you are going to get negative 6. You are going to get negative 6 as the answer. Now, so you're already starting to feel good about this part right over here. Negative times a positive, or a positive times a negative give you a negative. Now let's take to the really unintuitive one. A negative times a negative, all of a sudden the negatives kind of cancel out and give you a positive. Why is that the case? Well, we can just build from this example right over here. Let's say that we had negative 2. Let's say that we had negative 2. Let me do it in a different color. Let's say that we had negative 2. I already used that color. Negative 2 times negative 3. So now we can do it a couple ways. And actually, I'll do this one first. We're still multiplying something by negative 3. So we're going to repeatedly subtract that thing 3 times, whatever that thing is. But now that thing isn't a positive 2. That thing that we're going to subtract 3 times is a negative 2. So let me make it clear. This says we're going to subtract something 3 times. We're going to subtract something 3 times. So subtracting something 3 times. That's what this part right over here tells us. And we're going to do this. We're going to do it exactly 3 times. Over here it was a positive 2 that we subtracted 3 times. Now we're going to do a negative 2. Now we're going to do a negative 2. And we know from subtracting negative numbers, we've already built this intuition that subtracting a negative is the same thing. It's like taking away someone's debt. It's the same thing as adding a positive. And so this is going to be the same thing as 2 plus 2 plus 2, which will once again give you positive 6. You can use the same logic over here. Now, instead of adding negative 3 twice, and really I could have written this as negative 3 up in this example, negative 3, let me write it this way, negative 3, and we added it, and I'll write a plus out here to make it clear. Over here, we added it twice. We added negative 3 2 times. Over here, since we now have a negative 2, we're going to subtract negative 3 twice. So we're going to subtract something, and we're going to subtract something again, and that something is going to be our negative 3. It's going to be our negative 3. So negative, negative, and put our 3 right over here. And once again, subtracting a negative, it's like taking away someone's debt, which is essentially giving them money. This is the same thing as adding 3 plus 3, which is once again 6. So now you as the ancient philosopher feel pretty good. Not only is this all consistent with all of the mathematics you know, the distributive property, the associative property, multiplying something times 0, all of these things that you already know, it now actually makes conceptual sense to you. That this actually is very consistent with your notion, your original notion, or one of the possible notions of multiplication, which is as repeated addition.